Hey everyone. So, I've been lying in bed, barely hanging on, and my boyfriend thought it was a great idea to bring the kitchen to me so I could help cook dinner. Am I overreacting, or did he completely cross a line? Let me explain. I'm 23F, and today has been one of the worst days I've had in a long time. I woke up feeling like I had been run over by a truck, feverish, chills, and a splitting headache that made every little sound feel like a gong in my ears. I was wrapped in blankets, drenched in sweat, my eyes barely open, struggling to keep my head from spinning. I couldn't even sit up without feeling like I was about to pass out. Now, my boyfriend, 25M, is usually great at reading the room. He knows I'm not the type to make a fuss, but today was different. I could barely get words out when I told him I needed rest. But instead of understanding, he started talking about dinner. I tried to explain that I wasn't feeling well, but he just brushed me off, saying he needed my help because he couldn't cook alone. At first, I thought he was joking, but then he started hauling stuff into the bedroom, vegetables, a cutting board, knives, and even spices from the kitchen. I couldn't believe what was happening. He set everything on my bedside table like it was totally normal, and then he said, "I need you to help me out here. Just chop a few things while you rest. It'll only take a few minutes." I told him again that I was too sick, that I could barely keep my eyes open, but he didn't hear me. "Come on, it's just a little thing. You're right here. Why not do it from the bed?" he insisted, setting the cutting board right next to me as if this was just another normal day. If you're enjoying the story so far, please leave a like. It helps more than you know. Back to the story. I was exhausted, nauseous, shaky, and on the verge of falling asleep at any moment. I kept saying I couldn't do it, that I needed to rest, but he kept pushing, saying it wasn't a big deal and that he needed me to help. I couldn't understand why he couldn't see how sick I was. How could he think this was a good idea? As I sat there, struggling to keep my eyes open, he got more insistent. His patience was wearing thin. "Why are you being so difficult? It's just a few minutes," he snapped. His tone made me feel like I was the problem, like I was being unreasonable for needing rest while sick. The worst part was that the more I tried to explain how miserable I felt, the more he downplayed it. "You're being dramatic," he said. It felt like my discomfort didn't matter at all. Finally, I didn't want to argue anymore, so I begrudgingly agreed. But as soon as I picked up the knife, everything felt wrong. I was shaking, barely able to focus, and the sound of the knife hitting the cutting board made my head throb. I tried to chop, but my hands were too weak to grip properly, and my vision was blurring. Every time I made a mistake, he sighed, rolled his eyes, or muttered, "You're not even trying." That was the breaking point for me. How could he say that? How could he not see how miserable I was? I could feel tears threatening to spill as I chopped the vegetables, clumsy and slow, wishing for nothing more than to be left alone in peace. At one point, I actually started apologizing. I've never done that when I'm sick, but I didn't want to make him angrier. "Sorry, I'm just not feeling great," I muttered, barely able to hold back tears. But instead of compassion, he snapped back, "Well, you should have just said no. Why are you making this so difficult?" That stung. I wanted to rest, to recover, but instead, I felt like I was being blamed for everything. At that moment, I realized I wasn't just upset about being forced to help cook, I was frustrated because my boundaries were completely ignored. After everything, I ended up apologizing for not doing enough. I don't even know why I did that. Was I apologizing for not helping more, or was it because I just didn't want to upset him? I feel guilty, even though I know I wasn't wrong to want to rest when I was sick. It just feels like he completely ignored my needs. We haven't talked about it since then, and honestly, I don't know what to think. I feel like I did the right thing by standing my ground, but I still can't shake the feeling that I could have handled it better. Am I wrong here? Was he crossing a line by forcing me to help when I was clearly in no condition to do so?